Okay, so I don't usually do haul videos. In fact, I've never done one before. But I thought it was my birthday in May, so why not do one? Because I got quite a few books this month, way more than normal. Some of them are out of print, or going out of print, or out of stock, whatever. They're about to leap up in price, so I'm really pleased I got them. Okay, so the first thing is the Power Rangers album by I Am 8-Bit, and there's things I like about it and there's things I don't like. The cover is okay, but it's very bland. Like the Rangers are tiny compared to the rest of the thing, and I know you got the command center, but you know what, they could have done that and had this as the cover, and the Rangers would be like that big. The back has the Megazord, this was pressed in 2016 and they're getting harder and harder to find. This came from Germany. There's still one from Germany on eBay and one from America, and that's it. So if you do want this, I recommend you get it sooner rather than later. The other thing I'm disappointed about with the cover is this. I posted about it on Instagram. This is not really original artwork. This is taken straight from the Power Rangers movie. Okay, I'll give the guy credit. It's, you know, there's some nice texture on the command center that wasn't in the movie. But this, with the lines, straight from the movie, line for line. And that's disappointing. Lokar, the Megazord, Rita's Wand. And I'm pretty sure, because the Power Rangers was filmed in Australia, and I watched it the other day, and I noticed that in the movie, that building. So I'm pretty sure that's been taken from the movie as well. So that's disappointing. Also, the colours are quite muted. This is actually a triptych. This is the right side, this is the middle, and there's another bit here with Rita and Goldar. And it's a normal sleeve, and I find that disappointing as well, because they could have just had a fold out thing here and a fold out thing there, so you could see the triptych in all its glory, but they didn't. And the other thing, this just looks very, very bland to me. Like, if you take any of Jamal Campbell's covers from the Boom comics, they would make such a better cover than this. It's not that this is bad, it's just not very exciting. There's nothing there, really. It's barren. This is all wasted space, which is why this would have been a better cover. Jamal Campbell's are a lot more exciting than this. So you get a plain white sleeve. Side A with the Rangers. Side B, and this would be the left side of the triptych. Goldar, Rita, a couple of monsters. And of course you've got that see-through vinyl with the splatter, which when it spins looks better. But the problem is, it looks alright there. When you put it on an actual turntable, you end up with whatever matte you have ends up showing through. Yeah, you can get around that by buying a matte that, you know, is one colour, but I'm not going to buy a matte just for that. It's fucking stupid. So yeah, I'm pleased I got it. This is the one where they do talk over the tracks, you know, where they're yelling like Power Rangers and all that. But there's some funny stuff on there, like Lord Zed, Rita, Goldar. But I am pleased I got it. Keeping with the Power Rangers theme, Power Rangers the Psychopath. I wanted this since it was announced. Now this is written by Paul Allure, and I spoke to him on Twitter when he was announced to be writing this, and let's just say I was concerned, because when I asked him what universe it would be a part of, would it be part of the Boom Comics universe, or would it be part of the TV universe? And he replied that he thought they were the same thing. And that made me nervous. Alarm bells were ringing, because that says to me that the person writing this story doesn't know the lore of the universe this story takes place in. And if you don't know the lore, then it's really going to detract from the story. Something I like about this is the way it matches up with Soul of the Dragon. Love that. Love when my books line up like that. It's not hard to do. Fantastic. Something I don't like about the artwork is his fucking hell, the names. I forgot the names. His cat looks pretty much exactly like his Corone. Like, there's very little difference in the way Giuseppe Caffaro has drawn them, and I think he's a good artist. He's just not very good at catching people's likenesses. But yeah, back to the lore. This one, I mean, there's Psycho Green on the moon, so we know that it's either set after the story from Year 2, where he killed the 69 Rangers except for Grace Sterling, or they're saying this happened in the TV universe and Psycho Green killed the 69 Rangers in the TV series as well. So it's not clear which universe it takes place in. And for my friend Smurd P, if I put you off Soul of the Dragon because you didn't like the way they treated Tommy, I really think you're not going to like this one. I've read this, and basically Psycho Green, he escapes from the moon, which is where we last saw him, and he's got this obsession with family. He sees Corone as his sister since they were both created by Dark Spectre, and he sees the other psychos as her kids because she created them. And she willingly goes with them, and that's all alright, but it's when Corone is trying to save the psychos. I mean, they're the fucking Psycho Rangers. I really don't want a, like, human story like there. There is Corone watching a movie with the psychos. That is the Psycho Rangers. And she's trying to save them because of the way Andros saved her. And I get it. I just don't really... I expected a lot more destruction and chaos. Maybe even a death. Maybe team up with the Galaxy Rangers. But we didn't get any of that. I mean, there are fights and stuff. I don't think the Astro Megaship transforms in this at all. I just think this could have been a whole lot better. Oh yeah, the reason the Psychos survived is because it seems that when they were brought back in Lost Galaxy from the data cards, the data cards still stored their data. So it's a bit like if you copied a file from your phone to your computer and opened the file on your computer, you still got the file on your phone. So there, as long as those data cards exist, the psychos can be brought back, and I won't spoil the ending. It also has a bit of art, and it's got Psychotic, which was the exclusive story in Year 2, which shows the origin of Psycho Green. And that's good news for a lot of people, I think, because they wanted to read it, but of course Year 2 can be hard to find. So now they don't have to pay you know, 50 quid, 100 quid when it goes out of print just to read one story, or, you know, downloading it from certain sites. Now you can get it in this, so I'm glad they included that. Not the best Power Rangers story ever. It's okay. Hopefully the Time Force story coming out later this year will be a lot better. Up next is Elektra, the Omnibus by Frank Miller and Bill Sienkiewicz. And thank you to the guy that corrected me on how to say his name. You were right, 100% right. It's not Sienkiewicz, it's Sienkiewicz. Look at that, beautiful. So this collects Elektra Assassin 1 to 8, Elektra Lives Again, Bizarre Adventures 28, and What If 35. It's a very striking book because where the Miller Daredevil Omnibus and Companion Omnibus had red and black, Elektra has red and white, which of course matches her costume when she comes back to life. Take the dust jacket off. Beautiful red and white. Very nice. You're going to hear me say this about a lot of what I've got in this haul. This was about to go out of print. I think it's already out of print, but it's about to go out of stock. So I'm glad I managed to get that. 50 quid, I think it was. But it's about it. It's at that point where it will go for, you know, like £100, and you know, it's up to the individual whether they think it's worth it. £70 is what I think is a fair price for an omnibus. Just any size, £70. So £50 I'm really pleased with. I've read the Daredevil Miller Companion. I've reviewed that on my channel. And I'm reading the Daredevil by Miller main omnibus right now. And once I'm done with that, I'll be reading this, although I might read Clone Saga Volume 2 first, just to mix things up a little bit. Sienkiewicz's art style, he's a very talented artist. I said this in Clone Saga Volume 1 when I reviewed that. But I just don't like this art house style. It really doesn't sit well with me. And I think it holds back his talent. So yeah, I've got all the Miller Daredevil and Elektra stuff now, so I'm pleased with that. Up next, another one that's about to go for crazy money. Marvel Knights, which bizarrely doesn't have Daredevil written on the front or on the side. This is a Daredevil omnibus. Something I noticed about this that I've never seen on an omnibus before is it's got a photo of Joe Quesada. I've never seen that. I'm used to either the grid of covers or artwork like this, but I've never seen a photo, so that's weird. This collects Daredevil 0 to 15, so that's volume 2, and the half issue, Daredevil Father 1 to 6, Marvel Authentics Daredevil number 1, and material from Marvel Knights Double Shot number 1. So this is basically when they not rebooted but renumbered Daredevil way after Miller's run in the late 90s to try and get kids reading it again, and they just couldn't work out what to do, and I'll talk about that in a minute because I've got one where they tried it. ultimately what worked was the ultimate line. There was one other thing that worked. So straight after this comes the Bendis book, or books I should say, volume 1 and 2. I have both those. I've got the 2020 reprints, which are hard to find, although I've literally just seen a post from Cheap Graphic Novels saying they're being reprinted again, and if you order from them you can get 40% off, which is cool if you haven't got it and you wanted it and you couldn't get it because of the coronavirus thing. You know, love this artwork, love 90s artwork. Not a fan of that. That looks like a kid's comic. Look at those pencils. So yeah, that's about to go for about 100. Got this one for 50 as well. I have, so after Marvel Knights, which should have been called Marvel Knights Daredevil or something, comes both Bendis's, and I have those already. And after that it's a straight run on to Brubaker, and I have both of those already. After that it's Shadowland, which I don't have, but I did manage to get this month, Wade Volume 1. This is about to go as well. I got this for 70, which I think is a fair price for an omnibus. But all the listings on eBay now are like £100, because all the listings are disappearing from eBay because of this coronavirus. You know, if people can't get books then they'll have to get them second hand, and you know, that's what they're doing. Thing is, people want to buy them more than people want to sell the ones they have. Nice image of Daredevil's radar sense there. Volume 2 actually has a similar image, so I like that that matches up. Now, this one is a lot lighter in tone than all the others, because if you look at Daredevil's history, pretty much from Miller right up to Shadowland, the end of Shadowland, which is right before this, he's had a really rough time. So the idea of this is that, you know, Daredevil can be fun again. He doesn't have to be that depressing stuff all the time. And the artwork in this, I'm not a fan of it, but I get the concept, because it's not dark artwork, it's not heavy, it's light, and it matches the light fun tone that Wade was trying to inject into Daredevil at this point. So yeah, I'm very pleased I got this one. And the next book is Daredevil by Wade Volume 2. Got both in 1 month. How cool is that? So this one is very, very hard to find, especially at a normal price, because sellers know that it's out of print, and they're selling it for like £150, which is ridiculous. I managed to get this for £70. If you're in the UK, there's a seller called Read Comics. Look on eBay, because quite often they'll have listed there this just once a month, 5 copies, but they'll have it. And every month I've tried to get it, they sold out just before I got paid, and it was £70, which again, fair price for an Omni. And I ended up getting this one from America for £50 plus £20 shipping. So Same price, just took a little bit longer, but that's okay. I still got it, and that's what matters. So, same creative team, pretty much. Looking forward to reading these. I'm going to read them in order, since I've got... Hopefully next month I'll be getting Shadowland and Daredevil Volume 1, which is the Silver Age stuff. And then I'll be able to read everything in order. I'm not too bothered about reading Volume 1 before I read everything else, because it's Silver Age stuff. That's the cover for Daredevil Volume 1. Alex Ross. So yeah, I'm pleased I got both of those at a normal price. Up next, this is another one that was about to go out of print, and I got this for £50, which is £20 under what I think is fair. Spider-Man by David Michelini and Eric Larson, and I'm going to be showing this one again in a minute. This is thicker than I thought it would be, because I've seen the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man one, which is like 16, 17 issues. Classic layout there, love that. This has a weird thing on the back with the issues. Collects Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man 1990, 15, 18, 21 to 23, right? Fine. But then here, Spider-Man 19 to 20, so that's 15, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and I've got no idea why they did that. This is just such a stupid layout. If they're going to print on the boards, I prefer a wraparound image rather than two images divided by a spine, but whatever. Do love this artwork, the 90s, man. See, as much as digital art is good, I think it loses character. It can be a bit messy, and I've said before, I think some digital artists are lazy. You don't get stuff like that with digital. You just don't. And this is where I think the late 90s and early 2000s got it right, where everything was hand-drawn, but they used digital to embellish. You'll understand why I'm laughing in a minute. So you have The Amazing Spider-Man by David Michelini and Todd McFarlane. Then Todd McFarlane went to do Spider-Man. And in that one, I think you get issues 1... This is adjectiveless Spider-Man, I mean. You get 1 to 14... plus 16, and in this one you get the missing one, which is 15, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So I think 17 still hasn't been collected, although that might be a McFarlane one, and if it is, it will be in the McFarlane Spider-Man one. I'm going to bring that back in a minute. This was the last one for £50. And I am so pleased I got this, because I thought it was literally about to go out of print, which is part of the reason why I've selected all these books, because I wanted to get them before they went for stupid money. Get them cheap now before they go for 2 or 3 times the price. And I have the first 2 volumes, and this is the 3rd volume, even though it's number 1. Ben Reilly, Volume 1. And I say it's the 3rd volume because it's really the 3rd volume of the Clone Saga. So now I'm ready for July, for when Ben Reilly Volume 2 comes out. Still got to read Clone Saga Volume 2, but at least I've got them before they started going for stupid money. My book actually arrived with a little ding because my neighbour told me when the parcels arrived, the driver, this is Hermes, I usually have a woman who delivers from Hermes, and she's lovely. It must have been a day off, and apparently this guy was lobbing. I had to arrive the same day, this and the next one that I'm going to show you, and he lobbed them. And fortunately they were wrapped in tons of bubble wrap, but you know, fucking Hermes. So looking forward to reading these. It's a bit of gutter loss there, but this does not look anywhere near as bad as Clone Saga Volume 2. That one had it was bad because Clone Saga Volume 1 sat beautifully, and then Volume 2 it did not sit well. That's actually not bad. Hopefully that eye will come up as I'm reading it. I do like both costumes Ben has. The Scarlet Spider one plus this one. They love redesigning Spider-Man's costume, but I don't think they've ever, out of all the redesigns, not counting the original style, I don't think there's ever been better redesigns than Ben's costumes. I just love it. You know, you got the hoodie in the first 2 volumes, you got this in this volume, and then of course, like all companies, Marvel brought Ben back. They brought back Kane first, then Ben. Neither lasted long. And the last thing I got, it's been out for a year, but I've wanted it and I think it's going to go soon. And I got this one for 50 as well. Spider-Man by John Byrne. And this one is why I need to bring this one back in, and I'll do that in a minute. Little knock on the corner there. Probably where the guy lobbed it. I think it's a bit weird for a book of this size, like 1200 pages, not to have the grid on the back. I mean, this is fine, but I would expect it because of the size. I do like John Byrne's artwork. I remember when I went to America the first time, I was lucky enough to be there for the first free comic book day, and I got my free issue of Star Wars where Anakin loses his lightsaber, and I've still got that. And also got something I'd never heard of before, which is called Spider-Man Chapter 1. And that is all contained, I think that might be it actually. That is all contained in here, yeah. Basically, Spider-Man Chapter 1 is a bit similar to Daredevil, where it was kind of like restarting, but it was still part of the main continuity, where they, in Chapter 1, they went through Spider-Man's earliest adventures. So the first lizard thing, when he gets bitten by the spider, Sandman, all of that. And it was retelling it for kids of the 90s, which makes sense because, you know, kids in the 90s didn't want to read art from the 60s. I'm not criticising art from the 60s. Gotta respect it, because without that we wouldn't have had this. But it is dated. You know, it's not the Silver Age anymore. It was the Bronze Age in the 90s. Things evolve, and comics were one of them. It's less dialogue heavy, art's better. So this was a good way for kids to get back into it, or into it for the first time if they wanted to. They tend to be, Chapter 1 tends to be single, you know, each issue is one self-contained story. This is why I think a John Byrne omnibus was a bad idea. I'm not saying his art doesn't deserve to be celebrated, but collecting Marvel Team Up 53 to 55, 59 to 70 and 75, Amazing Spider-Man 189 to 90, 206 and Annual 13, Peter Parker the Spectacular Spider-Man 58, Spider-Man Chapter 1 0 to 12, which is all of them I think, Amazing Spider-Man 1 to 18, and Marvel Authentics Amazing Spider-Man number 1. Now this one here, Amazing Spider-Man 1 to 18, is the one that annoys me, because if you look here, it's written by Howard Mackie. Now, issues 1 to, what was it, 18 in this? Yeah. Are the start of Spider-Man Volume 2. And Howard Mackie wrote issues 1 to 29 of Volume 2. Okay? So, Byrne only did 1 to 18, fine. But the reason Mackie one would have been better is because he wrote 1 to 29, and then he passed the torch off to another author who started writing on issue 30, called J. Michael Straczynski. You see, this omnibus contains issues 30 to 58. So, if they'd have made this a Mackie omnibus, we would have had issues 1 to 29, plus about 4 annuals. And he wrote other stuff as well. So if they'd have made this a Mackie omnibus, we would have had a straight run of Volume 2 all the way from issue 1 up to issue 58. Then it's 500 to 514, and then Straczynski Volume 2 takes us all the way up to the end of Volume 2, and that's where Brand New Day happens. So we would have had a complete collection of Volume 2, but sadly we didn't get that. We got a Byrne omnibus instead. And what annoys me about this one is it doesn't even contain everything. There's one issue missing, and that may sound picky, but I think if you're not going to do runs in terms of story and you're going to make it creator based, then you know you should include them all. And the issue I'm talking about, love that, is Amazing Spider-Man 441, I think it is. It's the first issue of the Gathering of 5, which takes place right before this. That event, the Gathering of the 5 and final chapter lead right into this. And John Byrne wrote issue 441. He didn't draw it, but he wrote it, so it should be contained in here. After all, we have Daredevil by Miller, where he's drawing or he's just writing, and it's contained, so it should be in here. And Marvel's Mr. Trick there. I caught you out, Marvel. But yeah, it's a solid omnibus. I'm not... Is it worth not buying just because it's not got one issue that he wrote? No, of course it's worth buying. Especially if you can get it at a good price. See, the other thing about Mackie is he wrote a lot of Spider-Man. Adjectiveless Spider-Man. So, between Spider-Man by Todd McFarlane and Spider-Man by David Michelini and Eric Larson, you've essentially got all the way up to issue 23. And Spider-Man was big in the Clone Saga. And where are you, Spider-Man? See, this one contains Spider-Man 64 to 67, but there's about 20 issues in the Clone Saga altogether that go from about 40 to 60, something like that. So really, you would need one omnibus here to collect 24 to 59 or whatever it is, and then you would have the Clone Saga stuff, which has a lot of Spider-Man in it. And then Howard Mackie wrote issues 44 to 98 of Spider-Man. So you see, if they'd have done a Howard Mackie omnibus instead, we could have had one for before Straczynski. Pretend this is Mackie. This would have been 1 to 28. This is, sorry, 1 to 29, and this would be 30 to whatever, and then Straczynski Volume 2 would be the rest of Volume 2. So we would have had a straight run of Volume 2, plus, if this had been a Mackie omnibus, we would have had... Okay, that gap wouldn't have been filled in because he wasn't writing that, but Spider-Man after all of this was written by Mackie. At least the rest of Volume 1 was. Volume 1 went up to 98 issues, I think, and he also wrote the first 19 issues of Volume 2. So you see, it would have just made more sense to have a Howard Mackie omnibus, have a couple of them, have 2 or 3, and that way people are getting big chunks of these runs filled in. But we didn't get them, sadly. So yeah, that's my run. This is probably my favourite one. I don't have the Todd McFarlane one or the Amazing Spider-Man by McFarlane, but it's just something about it I love. I don't know what it is. It's that artwork, I think. 90s in your face artwork. Really love it. Yeah, so that's my haul for May, and I may do a video where I go through, I probably will, all the stuff I've collected in the last year. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry it went on so long, but I had a lot of stuff to show you.